What's up, guys? Welcome to the live stream. We have Battery Mooch here, and I'm just really praying right now that the audio is working. It looks like it is just okay, so I think we'll be fine. So what's up, guys? Welcome to the live. And I forgot to mute myself on my own stream, so that's good. Well, yeah, so we have Battery Mooch here today, and we are going to do kind of a... This is going to be a little bit more relaxed than Vapes do, right? Because there's not going to be nearly as many people watching, and so we won't just get absolutely flooded with questions. So we'll be able to kind of chill, right? It's not going to be so bad. But anyway, so we're here, and we are going to be focusing primarily on advanced use, as well as I just talked to Mooch about this, but we're potentially might be trying to come up with an acronym for battery safety. So if you guys have any ideas, think about them. Like let that kind of marinate a little bit, and we're gonna try to come up with something that is going to be nice and easy for everyone to remember. So, how's it going?
Good, dude. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You're a busy man, so no, not busy at all. So anyway, well, I wanted to open up with question about. I've got a few questions for you, and then we're going to turn it over to the people in chat. But
all right, cool.
So stacked mech mods, right? Stacked mech mods are making a bit of a resurgence, and I don't know if you could ever say that they really ever went away, but they're kind of making a bit of a comeback. And I was just wondering some additional safety questions for stacked mech mods. First one being, when you have a stack, if one of your batteries has a tear in it and the other does not, for example, in the wrap, how does that work? Does it short in only that single battery, or does it act as one big battery, essentially, if you were to like have one battery with the torn wrap and the other one that was good?
Oh, if it goes through like the side wrap, it's a local short circuit through the battery that's bad.
Right.
But it also depends on the battery orientation, the mech itself.
Right.
Positive up, positive down. One way auto fires, the other way instantly short circuits can blow up the battery.
Yeah.
But it'll be just through the wall and through the end of that battery.
So I see. So it would only be that single battery, so it wouldn't act as...
Well, like so many things to do with batteries, I know our community wants yes, no, safe, unsafe, good, bad. But there's almost nothing about batteries you can do that. So everyone just gets frustrated and goes, I don't care.
Right.
And they don't think about it. But problem is thermal runaway also applies from what they call cell-to-cell propagation. That one battery gets hot as hell venting, that can tell the second battery to go into runaway, depending on, if the gases in flame are circulating inside your mech before it explodes like a pipe bomb. The second battery can also ignite. So the fact that only one battery is short-circuiting may not protect that second battery from igniting also.
Totally makes sense. Okay, that was like my #1 question that I've been like waiting to ask you, because I was just like, I just told for all of you guys out there in chat, I just told Mooch about the incident at ECC where a booth had a stacked mech mod explode, and it's kind of amazing that happens here at still at this level and this many years into vaping that we have such incidents happening. But so I was talking about that, so I just kind of wanted to cover that. Let's see here. What was I gonna say? Let me see here. I had a thing written down here. Oh, right. Okay. You like that mod, the Bassium?
It's comfortable. For a lefty thumb firer, it's awesome because it puts the big curve in where I need it here.
Sure.
And the sharper curves out here, and it's smaller than I thought. Sure. Doing 1.5. I really like this thing.
Yeah.
It surprised me, and the color's awesome, and it's just like a nice brick. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Oh yeah, no, it's no problem. I'm also looking at that mod as well. So the other question I had, I think this is the big one though, right? And a lot of people talk about this, and a lot of people debate this, right? Battery orientation in a mech mod, right? And I'm sure that this is a question you get asked a lot, but there's a lot of YouTubers out there that say only run it positive up, right? Like if there's no safety sleeve, always run positive up, even if the venting's positive down, right? And then there are other people who are saying, oh, well, always run your batteries towards the venting, et cetera, et cetera. Can we kind of put a little bit of this to bed, because there's a lot of people, Okay, no.
So the problem is, it depends.
Right.
There's no fundamentally correct answer to this, because, okay, yeah, facing the positive ports, or the venting, the top of the battery towards the ports, that's great, but that's assuming the ports are good enough to release the pressure before the threads give away on the mod, or it shatters. But odds are the threads get sheared, and that's, quote, the explosion.
Right.
One towards your face and one away from your face.
Right.
It doesn't matter which way the battery's facing if the mod does that.
Right.
As a result. So it's, if we had solid data on whether these are merely venting holes or are they thermal runaway explosion preventing holes, that would help. That would answer all the questions as to which way a battery should face.
That would be interesting to test. I'm not exactly sure how you would test that safely, but I mean,
safely is out of the question. But with a 1 acre lot, you can do it. And
sure.
I would dig a hole in the ground.
Right.
That's the best way.
Right.
You'd only need a small hole, and let's say 3 of every mech you want to test. For a few $1,000s, you've got the entire industry tested.
Yeah. Right.
The whole industry can get tested, because you want to test like 3 of them, because you don't want to go, oh, well, the threads were extra good here, or maybe the threads were a little bit damaged. You just don't test 1 of anything.
Well, yeah.
And then you start to see, and it's easy enough to induce runaway. You just get a little, they're little, almost like pieces of tape, practically, to wrap around the battery. It would still slide into the mod, and then you just heat up the battery until it goes into runaway. We're not trying to simulate a short circuit or something else. We just want it to blow.
It's not necessary to simulate that.
Yeah,
right.
we need a guaranteed blow up.
Right. I see these idiots on YouTube that will stick a battery on a table and then stick a paper clip on it and then run away, and take a video of it exploding on their back deck.
Right. Or like stabbing lipo packs. That's a fun one with, something with a nail attached to a broom handle or something like that. But back to your question, I always say you go with the manufacturer's recommendation, because hopefully they know on there. Now, the problem with, let's say, running positive down with a standard mech is, if there's any damage to the wrap, you get an instant short circuit and the thing can explode. The other way around, you get an auto fire. So one way takes a big risk if there's a damaged wrap.
Right.
The other way takes a risk. Let's say, you're doing positive up and the vent hole's in the bottom. That way you're taking a risk if somehow, some other way, the battery goes in a runaway, that the battery will swell, which we don't know if they do or not. Yes, theoretically it's possible. Yes, it's in the literature, but we don't know if it's going to do it for you.
Right.
And, that causes the thing to explode, assuming the vent holes were enough vent holes. I say they're for venting. We don't know if they're for runaway, which is a very different event. For those who don't know, venting is just that little of gas and excess pressure underneath the top cap, splits open and lets it out. Battery's ruined, but that's all it does. Smelly liquid. And runaway is that catastrophic failure we see in the videos with, rocket engines type activity of the battery. So I just can't answer, correct orientation in a mech. There is none. It depends on the mech, and it depends on what you want to take a risk of happening.
Which is your preferred risk.
Yeah, which is the least likely. And that's what battery, the whole thing with batteries is. There's nothing safe about the use of the battery at any level. These are meant for protected battery packs, physically and electronically protected. So you're already assuming a risk, picking up the damn thing, or just buying it. From then on, it's about minimizing the risk. And often it's choosing which risk we want to take, risk A or risk B. Right,
exactly. And I mean, that is something that is kind of a, especially for new people, like, what do you say to them to, like...
And we don't want to hear this. Nobody wants to hear that. We just want to vape, man.
Right.
I get it. But this is what we've chosen. The people who started this and picked 18650s and, cylindrical cells, this is what we're stuck with.
I would love to see us move towards something like this, right? If possible.
I can't see.
Oh, you can't see me, right? Okay, so I'm holding up like an NPF style battery, like a Panasonic camera battery, right, with a plastic.
Oh, okay. A small single cell lipo flat pack.
Yes, to a degree, It's got 4 contacts on it and stuff like that, and it's all contained within a plastic case.
Protected. Yeah, they call those prismatics on there, and I mean, you had what the Inokin disruptor. Oh, I need a vape. That you could click on. And that was brilliant. But they were they weighed a ton. They're bulky, expensive. But with some material science and I think some clever engineering, we can do some much better things, especially now that 21 millimeter cells are available. Mm-hmm. You've got some more room in there. You know, let's say you have 18650 internals, and that inside a 21700 shell, you got some room to do some other things there.
Right. Exactly. That would be really, really nice. I would love to see batteries packaged in those types of situations. The problem is that you would have to create a new standard, right? The industry would have to adopt a standard, which this industry is absolutely 100% resistant to adopting standards. I think with the exception of like the 510 threading, right? Like 510 threading is pretty universal.
Because they had no choice. Right. Yeah. Well, you can get like Sevia maybe in China. You know, all those manufacturers, they might be able to agree on something. But these companies are made for transitioning to new products every 2 weeks. You know, to say, hey, we're going to invest a couple $1 million on something that may or may not work. There's just no reason for them to do it. They'll still make just as much money if they don't have this standard.
Oh, right. They don't
China
care.
On board. Yeah, without China on board, now you've got just a couple little peripheral companies that say, we have a new standard. And 99% of the industry goes, okay, fine.
Cool.
You know, we're not using it. Yeah, go ahead. You know, go ahead and use it on your 100,000 mods a year. We make that many in a week.
Right. There was a new one, Rogue Mod just came out with a mech that the RDA and the mech are sold together, and it's a huge thread on the bottom that has like 2 turns to remove, right? So if you ever got into a situation where you were shorting, you could unscrew that in 2 threads and it's off. So, you know, which I guess that's the thing. Guys, just to keep in mind,
cool.
Welcome to everybody in chat. Of course, I didn't even read this off. Vaping Miner, $4.99 donation. Mahal Kita panel, and that I think is we always say in our voice chat, Mahanki Tonk. It's an inside joke. Okay. Mahal Kita is how to say. I think it's how to say I love you in Filipino, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, little aside. Yeah. So welcome everybody in chat, of course, and welcome Joel, Mr. Just Right's here. Everybody just hold your questions if you don't mind for right now, but you know, I will give you guys the green light here in a minute. But yeah, just hold your questions at the moment. So battery packs would be a really nice development, but okay, so we've got the the safety stuff, right? You know, kind of out of the way, so to speak. I had another question for you, right? So what would you say is the best way to balance your I mean, well, okay. This is a tough question. Many people out there build lower than, or build to a level that draws more current than their battery technically can be able to handle continuously, right? Many people do that. I do that. A lot of people do that. Not recommended, but many people do that, right? When you're considering a battery for performance, I've noticed that in certain cases, if you build super, super low, you end up getting a cooler vape because you're drawing so much current that it's like that voltage is just sagging so much. Is there a good way to kind of determine the sweet spot of a battery, or where the balance of current discharge and voltage output kind of reach equilibrium, so to speak?
Yeah, there's not a clear-cut kind of hump, you know, where you can go, okay, I can select how close to the peak of that hump. You know, I want a little higher power, but I'll get lower voltage or something. It's surprisingly, the thing no one wants to hear is it's around the continuous current rating of the battery. You know, once you approach that, maybe for most of the decently high performance, like Samsung 25R, which is a moderate performing battery and up, once you approach about 75%, maybe a little bit higher of the continuous current rating, that battery's working really hard, and you're starting to lose your return on investment. You know, like up until then, every 5 amp increase might give you the same wattage increase. Namely, the voltage just, you know, kind of comes down. But once you start getting around the continuous current rating, let's say 20 amps for a 25R or 30 amps for a Samsung 20S, now things start dipping down, start lowering down. You're depending on the battery to warm up and bring its voltage back up a bit. All these things that you're depending on stress reactions inside the battery in order to get better performance. That's terrible for the battery, terrible for the battery life. Yeah. And like, you know, going from, you know, 30 to 35 amps of the Samsung 20S is only going to give you like half the performance jump of going from like 20 to 25. So, you know, my recommendation, and, you know, there's a big difference between what I will recommend to somebody where to operate a battery at, and what I operate a battery at, and what lots of people operate a battery at, and I have no problem with. It's just if I'm asked, I'm not going to say, oh, fuck yeah, run that thing at 90 amps.
Yeah.
No.
No,
I'm not going to say that, because I always have to assume the worst case for every single person who asks me. So I'm forced to be conservative. But it also happens to be where the best performance is at that level. Let's say a 30S or a Samsung 30T.
Which is what I'm using right now. 30T. My favorite battery of all time is this battery.
Yeah, the top performing battery we have access to right now for a reasonable price. There's some $5,000 batteries that would blow you away, but for $5,000. That's some great stuff.
One of these.
Yeah, out in the aerospace industry, has some crazy, terrifying, high-performing batteries. Now, so if you got a VTC5A, much above 25 amps, you're just losing out performance. And people like go, well, I just need the heat. I just got to run my 0.07 on a single battery. I don't want to use a series Mech where, double that voltage means 4 times the power for the same resistance. You can multiply your resistance by 4 when going from one battery to 2 batteries, because you double the voltage and double the current because your voltage is pushing twice as hard.
Yep.
So you can go from a 0.1 to a 0.4 and get the same wattage, so maybe you back down to 0.3, you're running a lot less current, but a crazy hot vape, and you're set.
Yeah, I actually tend to feel that series vapes, as long as you don't push them super, super, super low, are generally can be safer actually than a lot of these builds. People running 0.08s on single tubes. Yes, conceptually.
Electrically, we should say.
Yes, as long as you do everything right. As long as you have everything, your wraps are good, everything is good to go. You're using batteries that are not damaged, etc. Right? When all the planets align, in theory, it is safer than.
Yeah. If you've got the thing that everyone frauds at the mouth about in terms of safety for series Mech is because if you get into trouble, it happens much faster and at a lower threshold, because you can drive twice as much current through a short circuit. What may not take you into thermal runaway, let's say a medium short, a soft short circuit with a single cell Mech, but if you're in a double cell Mech and you're driving at twice as much current, now all of a sudden you've got what it considers as a hard short, because the full current's flowing through both batteries.
Yep.
And now maybe you go into thermal runaway. So in one way, it's safer because you're operating at a lower current level. So maybe long-term type of background safety is better. But if you mess up, you pay a bigger price faster.
Right. And that's why I don't personally run my series mechs positive down if I'm running at stack tube. I will not do that. I'll run them always positive up, just because I don't want that instantaneous problem if anything were to happen, right? But that's my choice, right? Everyone, you should make your own choice on that, but that's what I personally kind of gravitate towards.
I want people to say, don't go running screaming into the night going, Mooch says series mechs are safe. Please, for God's sake, I'm not saying that.
There is nothing safe about lest we need to remind you again, there is nothing safe about what we're doing. Nothing 100% safe, right?
And series mechs aren't safer than a single cell Mech. They use lower current, which is good, but you can get in trouble much, much faster, which is not good. So, it's, again, we're in that gray area. Always with a battery, it's in the gray area. You just choose what's your personal thing that you attach more importance to on there. But as with any Mech, batteries have to be in perfect condition, like you say, and Mech perfectly maintained, understand the goddamn thing and how to maintain it. And holy crap, well, keep it clean too, but Ohm's law, every single day, over and over and over, hey, what's the best battery for, 0.1 bill, run Ohm's law equation. You got a link for that?
Yeah. I mean,
what'd you buy a Mech for?
Right.
Whoa.
I mean, I'll be honest, I use the calculator, but I know how to use it, and it's right there.
I hate that because calculators hide you from learning anything about it. And I understand no one wants to learn. They want to vape. Right. But if you don't understand what the calculator is doing, maybe you're using the wrong calculator. You may not understand what's happening or not happening, especially if you go from single cell to series. And it just hides what the little tiny bit of learning that has to be done. 3 minutes and you're set for the rest of your life with Ohm's law.
Right. It takes it's not difficult.
Yeah, and I'll get people send me screen caps of their calculator, and I'm like, just please open up a calculator app, and here's a voltage, a basic calculator,
right.
not a vaping calculator, and just understand the numbers you're using. I have a video up on how to do all this stuff for mechs, and it's a little different for regulated. Anyway, about to go on a rant, so I stopped.
That's okay. No, I mean, rants are fine. Rants are welcome on this channel, especially when it comes to something that's as important as battery safety, because we cannot, Yeah,
I got a lot of flack from my rant video last week, and I just took it down because it just took too much time responding to people. So
I didn't even
just going back to dry and boring. It's just the community is just once you're shoehorned into a place, the community works really hard to keep you there.
Yeah.
And if you do anything, namely show who I am, someone who has a lot of emotion, a lot of anger, and a lot of frustration about battery situations we're being forced into by a lot of different companies, if you show that finally, then people are like, whoa, what the fuck? You're trying to copy this person, doing this and that, and you're like,
no, I'm just trying to do my own thing, right?
I finally show you who I am instead of a measured metered, engineer type thing. Show the science, let the science speak for itself. But I finally just said, enough. iJoy, enough, and with the 2350s, and it just wasn't worth the grief.
Yeah, I saw your review, or I saw your post on the 2350s, and I was just like, wow, that's
There's another one coming out tonight. I finished the retesting of it, and it's not much better. Tested 6 of them, but iJoy has said they are speaking to the factory about redoing the welds, getting better QC on the welds, and maybe changing performance of the cell.
That would be nice.
We'll find a 2350 that performed fairly well. We can use, because now you can stack it in a 2700 mod, and a 15 amp 2350. It's still a good hunk of power
for a small little battery.
Yeah. For in a 2700 mod to have. Let's say you ran it at like 10, 12 amps. So it's you still bump it to 80 watts, maybe 100 watts that you could do on it. And that's great, because 80 to 100 watts in a single 2700 kills it.
Right. Yeah.
Not destroys the battery, but that runs it down pretty quick. So it's some options, particularly if you're willing to run some round wire or something like that, where you don't need 200 watts just to heat the damn thing up.
Right.
And then your cotton's starting to burn, and you have to back off instantly. That crazy, that insanity you see with mechs. No, man, I'm going to use this half-pound coil, with a single battery. And I'm like, well, but you have to run a 0.05 just so you can get it hot enough.
Right. Well, that's...
And then you have to stop instantly because it's going to burn your cotton.
Right. As a builder myself, I mean, basically at this point these days, I'm almost only using mechs, right? And as a builder, one of the things that I concentrate on is efficiency, right? Because I want to make sure that you get that heat that you want without drawing too much current and without being too big where it cooks all your juice off and burns your cotton and all that kind of stuff, So yeah, I mean, let's see. So we got.
I want to hang on to that pull for like 3 seconds or something, and not go like, whoa.
Right. Right.
Get the ramp up time I need. For me, okay, yeah, short ramp up time is good. I want to enjoy a nice long flavorful pull, that lungful kind of thing, as opposed to going massive air, because I want short ramp up time.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll fire to 200 watts equivalent, 0.06 or something, and oh crap, now it's hot as hell, so I need massive air, but that takes away my flavor, and you're just fighting this battle because you want to use this coil as opposed to picking a coil for a single cell mech. And saying, whoa, okay, now I got the efficiency and short wrap-up time, and I can stick with this, and I don't have to drip every pull or something like that. So yeah, efficiency, I agree.
Absolutely. There's a Noah Rivera in chat said, I learned today that the amps on the batteries are wrong most of the time. Yeah, I mean, in general, like if your battery has an amp, you should always check it. This is the guy, right? Go follow Mooch. If you're not familiar, if this is your first time seeing Mooch, this is Mooch, by the way. And he is the man. This is the battery man, right? So go check his stuff out. I don't think I have any moderators in here, but I'll drum up some links and I'll make sure to post them. If not in chat, then it'll be in the description after we are done. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions from you guys. So if you guys have any questions, please make sure to at Demo Vapes, so that way I know that you're trying to get me to see it, right? So do that in chat at Demo Vapes, and you know, we'll take some questions if you guys have any. So let's start right here. Is it the Vapid Fish asks, is it possible to have these high performance batteries with an internal safety, something that will open at certain amperage and shut down the battery, like a fuse or something?
A lot of them have something, two protective devices, but they're not guaranteed to perform at any particular place. They're really kind of last ditch efforts. It's like building a smaller dam downstream of the big one, just to give you more time to escape when the big one blows. But you know that smaller one's going to fail eventually.
Right.
So they're called the CID, current interrupt device, which is a physical thing that pops. In fact, on some batteries, when you run them too hard, like an HG2 or what was the other one that does it? I forgot. You can hear the punk, you know, the pop.
It Panasonic that does it? Isn't there some Panasonic cells that are
a lot of the cells have them. And then there's also PTC, positive temperature coefficient. It just means the way it reacts. Its resistance goes up when it gets hot as hell. And that can trip just by essentially melting into a different material that doesn't allow current to pass, which cools off the cell. The stuff resolidifies again, but the battery's never the same. So one of them bricks the cell, that current interrupt device. It's like a mechanical circuit breaker. It flips, it pops.
Yeah.
It's like those discs when you press them in and you wait and it goes kaboing.
Yeah.
It jumps up. It's literally like that. And then once it goes kaboing, you're stuck. It's the heat that makes the metal expand and do this and separate the connection down here. And then the PTC turns it into a high resistance 5-ohm battery, and it's useless. Now you can add external protection. They're called protected batteries, but it's really hard. Well, actually, it's not that hard. It's really expensive for the battery manufacturers. Conceptually, they don't want to add $2 to the price of a cell to add high current protection, because lots of current through electronics makes lots of heat. You got to get rid of that heat or spend a fortune on more expensive components. So it can be done, but I think really much over 10 amps, it's hard. Over 20 amps, really hard. Double the current, it's 4 times the heat to run the equations. So, you know, going from 10 to 20 amps is really tough unless you've got something sinking away all the heat from the electronics. So they just figure it's not worth it. And then once you get up to 30 amps or 40 amps. So I don't think we're going to see it unless we come up with something, you know, you have an inch square, you know, like an Anakin disruptor. That was what, 7/8, 3/4 inches, something like that. Now you've got a little room for electronics. Something, you know, half inch taller, 3/4 inch taller than an 18650 or 2700 or something. Now we can do it. Metal box that you know, spread the heat and stuff like that. That's a hell of a commitment from a manufacturer. I bet we only see something like that from Inokin, Anakin, or maybe somebody else who tries something like that. But I'm hoping.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we'll see. There's, you know, solid state batteries. Maybe maybe we see those in 7 years, 5 years, or something like that. They'll get just as hot, but at least a hell of a lot safer.
Right. Yeah. Which would be nice
when they catch. But it's going to be a long time. The first things I think we're going to see are you know, 5 amp batteries, stuff like that.
Yeah.
From them, it'll be quite a while before they're good vaping batteries.
Well, I mean, even think about how batteries were when this industry started to now, right? I mean, like we've come a long way, and I mean, granted, of course, as a reminder, you know, Vape and Fish. Again, these batteries are designed to be run in packs. These are not designed to be run in single. The way we're using them, right? They're not designed.
Never meant to be touched by human hands except when assembled.
Right. Exactly. So
who else would be stupid enough to put the positive and negative at one end of the battery if it was supposed to be handled by human hands?
Right.
Nobody. That's the best cue. When a company says, "Oh, these are batteries meant for vaping. We designed them for vaping," what? Then why the hell do you leave a positive and negative at the top of the battery with a little tiny piece of plastic over it? No, I'm sorry, that's not designed for vaping. You're marketing it to vapors. It's a big difference. Yes. And you know, these are.
Yeah. So, question: we have a couple more, but I wanted to ask: did you want to talk about that UL thing earlier? Or do you want to wait on that?
I think it'll end up being appropriate for one of the questions. Probably we'll let it run there, only because there's no hint that it's going to be committed to by anybody. Okay. Though I believe Joytech or somebody has the first mod that passed UL 8139 electronic cigarette safety standards. which is great.
Well, let's now that we're talking about it, let's talk about it if that's okay, because now there's a bunch of people who are like, well, what are we talking about now? So
okay, so underwriters laboratories.
if you could explain, because a lot of people don't know anything about any of this.
UL, capital U, capital L, used to be Underwriters Laboratories. They write safety standards with your input of the industry, worldwide input, and for extraordinary number of different devices, dishwashing machines to TVs to everything. You look for the UL listed thing in the back, and you can hope, if that's a genuine UL listed product, they're not bullshitting you, that there's some modicum of safety attached to using this device. Well, they finally created one, electronic cigarette hardware safety standards, and it addresses essentially regulated mods. And I'm actually reading it now. It seems to, I'm hoping, I want to get a later version, but it costs $502, and I'm really not interested in buying it now. But I have an earlier version, and it seems to indicate that mechanical and unregulated devices, because they offer no protection, aren't allowed to have this UL listing. Now, that's okay. The company says, well, we want our device to be UL listed. So they spend, I don't know, 20 grand. They send it to devices, UL test them, and says, yes, you passed. No, you didn't. And then you can put UL listed on the back of the device, and people can go, whoa, this is going to be safer than one without it. Odds are they're right. Now, a lot of people do that. They buy a toaster oven, they want to see UL listed, or, an appliance. And it means it's not some cheap, untested China or some other country crap.
Right.
Well, what happens if the FDA, like they do with medical batteries, which they regulate, and they say, we are going to default or just use the UL standards for medical batteries, and we'll say, those are our new regulations. You have to pass those tests. And now they do it. Well, if the FDA does that for electronic cigarettes, because the FDA is not going to write safety standards, they can spend 3 years and millions of dollars when a standard already exists.
Yeah,
they would just say, use UL 8139. Whoa, then that little line about not, that you have to have all these features, and all those features of protection only exist in regulated devices. Aha, now they just outlawed mechanical and unregulated devices. And now the FTC or whoever else is handling imports and everything else is going to start inspecting for UL listings or whatever else, that they have to have. So there can be some real problems if the FDA picks that up. Now, I think in April, it was formally passed, the standard. Who knows when the FDA might look at this. Right now, I think they're kind of laser focused on flavors. That's what, lawmakers are screaming at them about. So I think they're going to do their damage with that, and then they may start taking a look at batteries. And
yeah,
mods.
I mean, batteries seem to be kind of the obvious choice after flavors to go after, just because of the nature of the press that we've received.
Yeah, the FEMA report didn't help too.
The what?
The FEMA report that was talking about electronic cigarette accidents. There was a compendium. There was a report back in 2014 or something, and this is another one that was out fairly recently, where they pulled together, I don't know, a couple hundred accidents, and like 61 of them, something went off in the pocket, 60 of them went off in use, 48 went off during charging. And these are mods or batteries, which I don't like. They put a mod and a battery, they lump them together, accidents for both. And I'm like, whoa.
Because they don't understand that.
Yeah. It's accidents with batteries, that can be full-on user error, probably all the time. Accident in a mod could be the mod or perhaps user error. So, lumping those together I had an issue with, but that's nothing new. So that doesn't help also. Lawmakers see that, the FDA sees that, and, essentially they're going, FEMA just said, whoa, this is a big problem here, that we've got these unregulated batteries and devices out there.
And how many
Everything else is regulated.
How many people have died from smoking cigarettes?
But that's, what
I mean? Like, it's
in the end, it's irrelevant, because
I know.
It's not. We'll always use that. We want to use that, and it doesn't make so much sense. But in the end, it's totally irrelevant, because it means nothing to anybody who has to make those decisions.
No.
And we'll bring up alcohol, cartoon characters on alcohol bottles or something, or flavored alcohols. They're regulated entirely differently. We can't bring that up. It means nothing to the regulators, because they go, well, that's another agency. There's nothing to do with me. I care about, vaping products. I don't care about alcohol. And bam, it's done.
There's no consistency because they're all different groups, you know.
Yeah, different agencies or whatever handle it. So for us, we'll never be able to say, I get it. You know, I'll say the same thing. Holy fuck, you know, more people drown in a bathtub. Why don't we regulate, you know, raised non-slip floors on all bathtubs?
Yeah.
Thousands of people a year die, you know, slipping in their bathtub or something. But, you know, we get one person die a year. We're going to regulate the, you know, vaping industry, batteries and hardware.
All media.
So, yeah, and I get it. There's so many other things I can rant about, but it's
all good.
It's been a very long couple of weeks. China.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, you got to get some stuff off your chest every now and again. All right, so let's go back to some of the questions here in chat. We've got question at Battery Mooch. What are your thoughts on all of these pod systems? I don't know if you could be more specific, Raven Shadow, but
the fact that they exist, or
let's assume that the battery. It's a battery related question.
Stealing business. I have got nothing against them. I think it's fantastic options for smokers because we got more styles. It's more confusing, but how is it more confusing than buying socks or shirts or cars or cutlery or dinner plates?
I think it's a lot less confusing than trying to set somebody up with a regulated mod and teaching them wattage and ohms and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe you have to look through 20 different pods, but you just go, okay, I'm gonna pick the 3 best looking ones that I like. Okay, which one got the best reviews? That's the way I do it. So I've got nothing against the concept at all. Closed systems, I'd like to see an open system, but you know what? Smokers transitioning to vaping products like closed systems because their brains don't explode at the concept of opening this up and filling with juice and buying the right nicotine level. And, you know, it's just like, whoa, only 3 flavors? Yep. Thank God. Because now I only have to pick from 1 of 3 flavors. I either like one of those 3 flavors and I buy this thing, or I don't like the 3 flavors and I don't. And so I see a place in the market for them, and I've got nothing against it at all. The batteries and everything else, I don't know a thing.
I've never heard anything negative. I mean, I think I've heard of 1 or 2 of these running away, or, you know, like having a problem charging issues. I don't ever charge these overnight. Don't do that.
100,000 of them being, you know, pumped out every month or something like that. It's going to happen. These are mass-marketed, brutally inexpensive, you know, manufacturing cost-wise.
What is the battery in here? Like what? Like, you know what I mean? Like what? I don't even know what kind of battery is in here.
Probably all going to be tiny lipos.
Yeah.
That's your best energy density. You don't have the weight of a metal can. You don't have the space taken up by a metal can in the top contact. It says battery with a soft pouch, and you can kind of fold the edges of the pouch against it, like the tube mods. The 2 regulated tube mods, you know, starter mods. You know, there's lipos in there. They're in a pouch, and they just fold all the edges of the pouch. You know, vacuum seal everything into the pouch. They fold all the edges against it and, you know, jam the cell down into the thing, and you pull it out, and you can start. Actually, if I can reach up here without choking myself to death.
What is that?
This is from the. Damn it, what's the one that said it was 8,000 mAh? Smart VFin. I don't know if you can see. It's got a pouch here. These are 2 pouch lipos. And so here's the edge of the pouch, and they just fold all the stuff until it makes 2 circles. Otherwise, it's, you know, like putting a battery in an envelope and, you know, squeezing all the air out, and you'd have all these flanges around it, and they just fold everything up against it. So it's round, and jam this in there, and it's not 8,000. It's 2 3,300 mAh batteries, which means it's a 2-cell 3,300 mAh pack.
Right, because they're wired series.
That was uber bullshit on their part, but equivalent 6,600 mAh.
Right, because if they're regulating it to 4.2 volts or whatever, then I guess that would be, you know, if they're not just running it straight out.
Yeah, it's 2 batteries, so it's twice the available energy. So you can argue it's the equivalent mAh or capacity of 2 batteries. And I get that, but Smart lost the opportunity to educate the community and go, hey, we have 2 3300s. Guess what? That's the equivalent to 6,600 mAh. Buy our mod. No, they just said,
a big number.
It's 8,000 mAh battery.
Big number, right? Everyone goes, oh man, that's a huge battery, and they buy it, right?
Yeah. Americans love big numbers. Yeah, tell them it's 8,000. That way we can make the next one 10,000 so they upgrade.
Right, absolutely. All right, we've got another couple questions. Tony Berry asks, are there any new batteries coming in the near future that you're excited about?
Yes, I'm trying to figure out if I can talk about anything.
Right, because I know the last time we talked about this on Vape Stew, that was right around the 30T release time, I think.
Yeah, that was it. The ones I'm hoping make it, and I can't give details. I'm pretty sure I can, but I'm not going to, just to be sure, because
Sure.
there's no signature on it, is some better 2700s coming to market.
I see that behind you. You know,
Yeah,
can't recommend any now.
yeah. I was the next video, I didn't have time. Day before yesterday, I was going to record it. Yesterday, I was going to record it. Today, I was going to record it. Didn't happen. Yeah, so this is about, namely, what is going on with our 2700s, because they're all changing. I have to retest all of them. The best ones available aren't even around anymore. So hopefully there's some better 2700s coming down. There's the Sherlock Home V2 from Home Tech. The first one wasn't very good at all. The second one hopefully is better. Maybe using the same tech as their homework cell does if they do that. And then the OEM cell, that beige tan thing that's available from IMR batteries.
Oh yeah, and it looks like a 30T, but it's not a 30T or something. It's like the similar color wrap.
Yeah, let's see what the 30T though is. It's much more of a warm tone, like a beige kind of thing. Where the 30T is a light gray.
Yeah, on the internet, it's tough to see when you're looking at pictures and stuff.
Yeah. So that is from a major cell manufacturer, and the name is just photo touched out because of the sensitivities involved by IMR batteries. The company hasn't wanted vapors to use their products, and so the relationship IMR batteries has with whoever supplies the cells can be in trouble. So we just, if you know who it is, you don't say anything. If you buy the battery, the name is right on there. You can see who makes it, and then you just go, okay, good, I can use this thing, and it's a good performing 30 amp 2700. And that hopefully things can happen later this year and early next year that it becomes legitimized, let's say, and more available, and maybe better grades become available as opposed to the secondary market, which is often a B grade cell. Nothing wrong with a B grade cell. Hasn't failed anything. B grade just means it's operating a couple % low what the other ones did. 30 amp 3000 mAh B grade can be sold as a grade A 25 amp 2800 mAh cell. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just got a little lower performance on there. There's no increased danger with that. Then that's about it. Hoping, there's been some rumors regarding the Sanyos. I'm trying to track down in terms of availability and stuff like that. And then there's all kinds of promises from various countries and companies of what's coming. And I'm like, when I see the samples, and test them, I'll believe it. But nothing like the excitement being generated for the 30T, the 40T, the Samsung 20 series, the Samsung S series, 20S, 24S, 25S.
Yeah.
Spectacular performers. But the new home work cell, Lightning Vapes, just did some testing and looked like the 25S and the new Homework V2 cell are about the same in performance. Maybe the Homework getting a slight edge over that, which is great.
That's nice, because I've always been sort of uninterested. I've tried the home tech stuff, and I've always found it to be a little bit underwhelming in terms of the performance.
Well, one was, the Homework was essentially an HE2, and the Home Life was essentially a Samsung 30Q.
Right.
And one is the 30Q is a great regulated mod battery.
I did like that for regulated mods, yeah.
And the HE2 is a 6-year-old technology, moderate performing cell. Even the 25R performs better than the HE2.
Yeah, I was just gonna say those 40Ts though. This is a dual 21700 regulated mod, and I ran this build, which I think is a 0.11 at like 100 watts, and I ran it for 3 days. It was
40T's
unbelievable. Like it stayed at
25 amp.
Yeah, it stayed at like above 90% for the whole of the first day. It was I've never had performance like that. So, okay, so let's get in some other questions here, and then we're gonna get to that little acronym thing before we wrap up, because I do want to kind of talk about that and see if we can start getting some input from the community. Okay, so Hazozita or Hazozita, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce your name. What is the proper procedure for dealing with a battery that vents?
throw it. You've got. Let me just deal with something that's leaky
that's
here.
No problem.
Wait, is he saying venting or runaway?
Well, venting, but let's talk about runaway too. Like, okay. We might as well throw those both in
You know what?
here.
Just drop it, because you don't know if a cell that's venting, spitting, 150 C hot liquid, at you, might be in the process of getting ready to go and run away and explode. So probably the best thing to do is you drop it and just get the hell out of the room, and then come back in and put out the fire if it's set the carpet on fire or has rocketed around the room or something like that. But there's no way for me to say, because every single situation is different. If it's already venting, you're not going to, let's say, or if it's in runaway, you're not going to hold on to it. It's already down on the ground. It's a rocket engine in your hands, and you're going to let go of it no matter what. So that it pretty much takes care of itself if it's in runaway. But let's say, I can't think of a situation where you're going to be able to stand there going, oh, if this is about to explode, I have an opportunity to do something, run to a sink and put cold water on it, or do something like that. There's not going to be time. If it's nearly vented, you're running it hard as hell, you're chain vaping at a low resistance or something, and you smell it, or you realize just how damn hot it's gotten. And, you open up the Mech and it stinks and the cell's vented. It's already vented. It's pretty well done, but put it down instantly, come back in an hour, make sure the cells are cold.
Right. And that battery is done, correct?
It's done.
At that point, once the venting, done.
Tiniest bit of leak out of that battery, the battery's completely ruined. It's toxic as hell. These are really poison hydrocarbons there. There's carcinogens, cobalt in the batteries listed as a carcinogen. Mm-hmm. And so you want to clean thoroughly. Now, if you have a thermal runaway, and there's a fire, you can't breathe the smoke. You have to wet wipe down everything. Treat it like a goddamn radiation leak on there, because every aspect of it is poisonous as hell on there.
That was going to be my next thing. Yeah.
There's no time to really do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I now that I know that, I'm really upset that I breathed that stuff in at ECC in February, because I smelled it and I stood there and I breathed it because I didn't know that it was incredibly toxic, those gases. So now that I know that, that's nice. But yeah, so don't breathe that stuff.
yeah.
Don't get yourself into that situation in the first place, but don't breathe it.
I was actually reading a report of the byproducts of the burning. Now, just with venting, then you just get toxicity on the level of touching a lot of different paint thinners. That's what it is in terms of the vapors and touching it. But once you start burning some of this stuff, then it skyrockets. Yeah. Then you've got some real problems on there. But again, incidental exposure, you're cleaning up the room. Put on a mask, wet wipe. Don't get a broom and try to, get the dust off your walls or something like that. Please, wet wipe it down.
Right.
Wash your hands thoroughly, picking up the pieces and stuff like that. But otherwise, really just get away from the damn thing. But it's hard to say. Every situation, there's no like, oh, do this.
Well, and I mean, we've seen enough of these videos of mods exploding in people's pockets that they didn't notice it, clearly, otherwise they would have done something right before.
Yeah, it wasn't hot as hell. Yeah, they weren't dancing going, ooh, that's hot. Ow, ooh. No, they're just standing there minding their business and kaboom.
Right.
And that's how fast a short circuit can take a mod and turn it into a rocket engine.
Yep. All right, so Tony Berry asks, do you think we will see a possible 40 amp battery? I mean,
I'm hoping. I never thought we'd see a 35 amp, but that was before the 21700s.
Right. I mean,
around. So
we keep pushing it up, right? So
but the thing is, you know what I should say? This is the way I should word it. Again, it depends. Technically, it's not a problem. Is there enough of a market for a company to invest the huge chunks of money it takes to develop it in order for them to go ahead? If there's a portable vacuum cleaner, a lot of these go into, or a power tool that requires it, now there's enough of a market for them to build it, because we've got 35 amps at 3,000 milliampere hours, 3,000 mAh. Well, if they came down to like 2,200 mAh or something like that, they can do a 40 amp cell. So it's the space, you take out some capacity, some battery goop, and now you've got room to thicken up the pieces of metal moving through. You thicken up the electrodes and all that to handle the extra current. And that's really what it is. It's kind of like looking at the LG HB6, 1500 mAh at 30 amps.
Yeah.
And then you look like the Samsung 30Q, double the capacity, 3000 mAh, but only half the current rating, 15 amps. So you can get one or the other. Both require room inside the battery. Current handling, thicker everything to handle the current, and then capacity, more battery goop, literally more of the black goop.
Well, yeah, and that's why that is the reason why the 21700s have a higher potential for performance, because they are bigger, right? They have more space
the room,
in them.
And they haven't started. They started the trade-offs in the one direction. We've got the 5000 mAh, 10 amp, 21700s now, which because the internal resistance is so high, which is a lot of battery sag. They're really best at like 5 to 7 amps. You call them 20-watt batteries. That's because they're using regulated devices. Yeah. 15 to 20 watts. So now they've gone that one direction because that comes out of the automotive use and things like that, where running time is much more important because they're paralleling hundreds of batteries. So they can get the current handling they want. They need the capacity, what's called volumetric efficiency. Lots of energy in the smallest possible spot, and we'll just make the pack big enough to handle it. They haven't gone the other direction yet. I don't think there's been a lot of need for that kind of current handling. 35 in the rest of the world, amps is huge. There are not many power tools that require 35 amps.
No, I tell friends of mine who have electrician experience sometimes about the kind of amp draws that we're running on these things, and they're just like, isn't that dangerous? And I'm like, well, we're only running at 4.2 volts, right? So, okay, right? Like it's, they're expecting it to be something crazy.
Yeah, you think standard house wiring is 15 amps, maybe 20. And people can run double that on there. But, the house wiring's got voltage on its side to make up lots of watts. And we don't have lots of voltage, so we have to have lots of current if we want to make lots of wattage.
Right.
So I don't, then answer the original question, I haven't even heard hints. Or a lot of times, not a lot of times, excuse me, occasionally, you see a roadmap issued at a battery conference. And I'll get a copy of that, and it'll show where a lot of manufacturers think they'll be in the next couple of years. And I haven't seen anything above 35 amps on the roadmaps yet. I've seen higher and higher capacity, 5,500, 6,000 mAh, but nothing with, and that'll be in the 10 amp range, 8 amps. That's it. Even like the Tesla batteries, everyone's like, test the Teslas, they're incredible. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, the marketing's incredible. That's a basic 10, 15 amp battery with a lot of capacity and recessed contacts, which means we can't use them in a lot of devices. So I don't think right now, certainly nothing this year, maybe by next summer, Dyson or somebody will come along and say, we want to strip the paint off the wall with a vacuum cleaner, maybe a 40 amp battery. Problem is, if Dyson asks them next year, then it'll be 2022 before we get our hands on it, because Dyson will buy everything up for 2 years. And we'll have to get the remnants a couple of years down the road, like the 30T. The 30T's been around, but now they're just becoming available in the secondary markets, the gray market, where we have access to them.
Right, exactly. Let's see here. Tony, so there's Billy the Kid, you have an individual question about a battery. The Frank Freaking Wolf, just two messages above you, posted the link to Mooch's test list. Go check it out there. We can't answer individual battery questions. There's way too many, so I'm really sorry. Well, let's see here. So Tony Berry asks another question. Are there any new battery chemistries that are coming out anytime soon? Or are we looking at...
Dozens of all the time, but they're all specialty. They're all developmental. They're all in the labs. Literally every single day I get a notice of a tweak on a chemistry or variation on a chemistry. And, whether any of these get commercialized, though, you see all these announcements, good enough, inventor of the lithium-ion battery has new solid-state batteries. And I'm like, well, okay, they have some samples in the lab. This could be a decade before it's a commercially viable product if it survives the commercialization process. It's got to be cheap enough to manufacture. And there has to be a market at the price points and the size and the specs that it's going to have. So all these things come together for it. So, but any fundamental chemistries like lithium air or the sulfur batteries or things like that, they're not going to make it down to us. I don't think those ever going to start to appear on the general market. Essentially, the power tool and other markets like that, we're going to have access to them. what I maybe because performance is becoming a little bit better, it's what's called the aqueous chemistry systems. Right now, we use hydrocarbons for the liquid inside the battery.
Yeah,
they're flammable as hell, and it's a real safety issue. So, I mean, those burning, it's what causes a lot of the gas, which causes the pressure, which makes a pipe bomb out of a mech when the battery goes into runaway. So if you get one where they can use water instead of hydrocarbons, essentially paint thinner, to carry the ions, now you've got a battery that practically extinguishes itself if it goes into runaway. There's a whole lot less to burn and no flammable gases to ignite. Trouble is, they're all pretty low performance. They self-destruct, the low power levels, they degrade quickly. They're coming along. I still think that's going to be at least a couple more years, and then it'll be specialty batteries, and then a couple more years before Dyson says, okay, that's ready for one of our vacuum cleaners. And then a year or two after that, we get access to it on the secondary markets. I think it's going to be a while. We're going to read about it, and we'll be frustrated as hell because we don't have access to it. But I think that'll be what makes it to us. Solid-state batteries, maybe then a couple more years after that. And those, in my opinion, will be just high-capacity, low-current batteries for quite a while. It's just hard to get a lot of ions to pass through glass.
Right.
you just can't pass a huge amount of it. Yeah. But you can pass a little bit of it for a long time. And that's where high-capacity batteries in solid state, I think, will marry up very well, which may be good for the regulated market sometime down the road.
I would be down.
Or the pod systems we were talking about.
Yeah. Freddie, Clean AF Coils, check Battery Mooch's ratings. Frank just posted it right above you there. He's asking about the 20S specific question. Anyway, yeah, check there. All the answers you could ever want are in that resource right there. So please go check that out. All right, before we wrap it up, I would like to talk to you all about an idea that I had. Trying to, wanted to get Mooch in on this as well. And this is going to be something that I want to put towards the community as well, because, I'm not a linguistics expert by any means, and neither is Mooch, I don't think, even though you very well spoken, but, not an English major. Neither am I. I would like to create an acronym for battery safety. So I think that in the similar way that the gun safety community, this is the only industry that I can draw comparison to because it's the only one that I'm aware of this kind of acronym, between the two, right? So the gun safety community has an acronym called TAB-K, which is a basic way to remember all of your basic gun safety. Treat all firearms as if they're loaded, always make sure of your target and what's beyond it, etc., right? So I would like to create one for e-cigarette batteries, and something that is easy to digest and something that is easy to easy to absorb. So if you have any ideas, please feel free.
Maybe one for regulated, one for unregulated, because I don't think one can cover everything. And I think the beginner, because advanced users aren't going to use acronyms. So think of the beginner. And
thinking of the beginner, I would think regulated, because in general, I would never recommend a mech mod for a beginner.
But it's there. I can't tell you how many I get their first mod, and particularly in some countries, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, there are only mech mods. So everybody's first mod is a mech.
Okay. All right. Well, so if you guys have any ideas, please feel free to throw them in chat, or shoot me an email at demovapes@gmail.com.
We'd love to see these, because we're not clever enough to come up with this.
Well, and I've had some ideas and stuff, and I've put out
I'm not clever enough to come up with it.
I have a few drafts, right? But they're all very wordy and stuff like that, and I have to come up with a thing that's easy to remember, right? And I think that it would really help the community at large is that if we can get something that's easily digestible and get it out to all the reviewers and get it out to if it catches on, right? Something that will be able to be easy to post and easy to say in 10 seconds, and you're going to be good to go, right? Spread that word.
That's a great idea too, because there might be two types of acronyms. One is a general safety concepts, but also another one could be maybe acronyms for what you specifically do to check. Like a gun check. Sure. Checking the chamber, stuff like that. Specific steps. So it can be that, like step 1, step 2, step 3, or it can be an overall safety kind of thing. I'm certainly open up to everything, in terms of what can happen, more than one acronym.
Yeah.
I think there can be a general one, on there. But there might be opportunities also to say, hey, I'm getting a regulated device. And you go, well, buy a VTC5A, or excuse me, buy a 30Q and, ding, 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 ding. You give them the acronym.
Sure.
And they go, what? And, then you can explain. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fantastic idea.
Something that fits on a card easily, right? That then someone can read and remember.
Shops can use. The online vendors can use them.
You could pack it in with mods. Very, you know what I mean? Like something like that is what we're hoping for. So my favorite one so far, though, there's only one of them that's appeared in chat. It is DBAF, and it stands for Don't Be a Fuckwit. Not very descriptive, but I mean that is kind of the general.
Don't need anything more. We are done. We all get to go home.
All right. Good night, all. No, but yeah. So shoot those on over, because I think we're hitting about 9 o'clock. I was hoping to kind of keep this to about an hour. So I think we're gonna kind of wrap it up. So Mooch, you have anything to talk about? Any stuff coming up? Any stuff links you want to pimp or whatever?
No, my ass is all over the internet. So just look for Mooch, and don't search for any of my results by Google, because guess what? Google prioritizes the old obsolete stuff at the top because it has the most hits, which means you get the most useless information. So don't use Google. Just find me out there. But start getting ready for some big rating changes and how I rate cells.
Definitely.
Fundamental changes in how China cells and rewrap cells are going to be rated. The safety information, we have no safety reports, no data sheets, no safety data sheets, which lists the materials inside, so we can know whether it's a fucking lipo or not. And it's been on the community, just 100% on the community. No, use these, that's fine. Oh yeah, we changed it last month. It's a different cell. It performs worse. Sorry, we forgot to tell you. Whoa, no. That's
safety
I'm tired
issues.
of paying the price. Yeah, and I'm tired of paying the price of retesting over and over and over. It's been hundreds of freaking hours the past couple of months dealing with this crap, and I'm sick of it. So right now, I'm putting the onus back on them. They come up with the safety documentation, the data sheet, the chemical composition of their cells, namely the SDS. These things are required to be given to the shippers, by the way, anyway. And if they don't have it, their cells get derated, 5 amps, 10 amps, something like that, because we don't know what the hell they are. So they're getting penalized in the ratings. So we can absorb some performance differences from cell to cell and the other crap that we have to deal with. Samsung, Sony's, LG's, Panasonic, Sanyo's, Mali cells, McNair's, ATL, Lyshens, all these other cells, fine. They're okay, because I know they all go through the safety testing. But the rewraps, if I don't know what they are, or the China manufactured cells, oh yeah, they're being held to a higher standard. So get ready for a whole lot of red boxes and derated cells, because what used to be called 30 amps will be called 20 to 25. What used to be a 20 amp cell might be called 10 to 15, because we don't have any safety information on it. And it just doesn't matter.
Well, no guarantee of consistency, too.
Yeah, and that's another thing. And yeah, I get rated at 20 amps a couple months ago with completely unknown safety, but screw it. They keep changing cells, and we don't know what the chemistry is, et cetera, and so forth. And I'm tired of working behind the scenes to try to get the information from them. I'm just going to derate the cell and let them scream and yell and da-da-da-da, and hopefully they come up with the documents, and then I can bump it back up to the ratings.
There is no sacrifice that is. I mean, you cannot sacrifice for safety, right? Like it's accuracy anyway. Really, like
yeah. And
as we've discussed, safety is whatever.
The community is going to scream and yell and be mad as hell at me, and I'm like, whoa! If I'm going to fuck up, it's going to be on the side of safety, and derating. And it's a long-term vision. It's not a solution for now.
I can tell you.
Result in a lot of lower rated cells, and hopefully then in 3 months they come up with a documentation and they can bump the ratings back up again.
I can tell you, as someone who follows your stuff to stay up to date on latest battery kind of information, I have no problem with that. So as a community member, I have zero problem with you erring on the side of safety. So
We'll see.
But you know what, ultimately, right, I know I'm just one person, but ultimately though, if you want something that's consistent and something that is you're gonna get what you're gonna get. Sony, Samsung, LG, Sanyo, I guess, Panasonic,
Sanyo, particularly for like some of the higher capacity things. They're getting hard to find, the good ones. that a lot of people are interested in. But yeah, for like the 18650s, there's still some good Panasonics and Sanyos.
So the big four, right? If you buy from those big four, buyers, and you get them from a website such as IMR Batteries, Lion Wholesaler, 18650 Battery Store. None of those links are. I'm not affiliated with any of those companies, but I know those companies sell.
Yeah, buy from a good vendor,
batteries.
So you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to worry about being genuine or not. And then they are not going to change their batteries on us. They may have tiny chemistry tweaks over a year-long period or something like that, but we're not playing roulette, with what a cell might be, like what iJoy has done, and eFast, Vapes, other companies. They've all done it. It's just who's been busted recently, and they'll continue to, because more and more of these companies are switching to the China-manufactured cells, which ties into my video for 2700s. That because you get a consistent supply, not a supply of consistent performing batteries. Consistent supply of batteries, and that's what they care about. They're tired of looking for 1,000 here, 10,000 there, different grades, who knows what. Oh crap, these are all scratched, these were underwater for a month. They're tired of that. So they're going to buy in China, and but the problem is these factories don't understand that it's not okay just to say, oh well, we couldn't get those really thick metal cans anymore, we've got these thin ones, we're going to use these for a month. Or like, oh, we ran out of those cores, the spiral, or we had to use a different chemistry cell because we just don't have enough of it. And they swap things, and then they swap back. That's not cool. That's what these companies have to pay a price for.
Who knows what kind of safety things that happen in these factories too, right? Like, I've never been to a Chinese battery factory, but I can't imagine that if they're putting cells out like that, I cannot imagine it is as clean or consistent as a cell manufactured by the big names.
If you want a real study in contrast, look at Pete Pisardo's videos on the Aspire's battery factory. They're tied in with Yongdali New Energy Company that makes their batteries. There's co-ownerships, financial crossovers and stuff. And they show you, the room, like a battery coating room and stuff, which is really important not to have contaminants mixed in with these coatings. And there's a window there. The window's shut, but there's a window in the room. And it's just that, there's dirt and fingerprints around all the edges of the machines and the buttons. And, basic floor, no one's in clean suits. And then you take a look at a video online of an LG or Panasonic or Samsung factory and how automated it is and clean and it's controlled environment. And then you tell me it's perfectly okay, safety-wise. Whoa, no. Now, that doesn't mean they have unsafe batteries at all. That's why Yongdali puts everything in a room for 2 months to monitor the batteries, to make sure nothing has gotten through that's an issue. But Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic, Sanyo doesn't have to put batteries in a closet for 2 months to see which ones explode.
Because they know that it'll be fine.
Because they have the quality control. The failure rate on the round cells is really low. Now, lipos, okay, that's a different issue. They've had some problems.
Well, lipos are a whole other animal. We could even talk about that some other time, right? But that's a whole other animal. So,
sorry for the rant, guys, but yeah, China cell ratings changing. Everyone get the hate out. Let's get it out the way. Once they do it, and then we'll move forward. But I'll do a video about that. And the new tables are being done, but it's taking hundreds of hours. And the phone calls and the emails to all the companies requesting the documentation. And it's whoa.
It's going to be huge.
It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
All right, guys. Well, hold on. Wait. Okay, this is interesting. This has got me interested. This one more thing. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep you for too long. Dylan, Gajozik. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher your last name. I'm really sorry. He says, "Oh, I noticed Sony sold their battery division. Same quality cells."
Yeah, Sony sold a lot of the battery operations, namely the ones we're interested in, to Murata, a electronics components company, a very reliable one. I use Murata capacitors, M-U-R-A-T-A. And Murata now has, so essentially they bought Sony's factories. Everybody is still there. Everything is still going on, same batteries. But now they say Murata VTC4 or VTC5. I tested 2 of them. They were identical in performance. I don't expect any other change in performance. I don't know Murata's long-term plans, but nobody spends $150, $500 million to close down factories. They buy that because they're expanding. And Murata is investing hundreds of millions of dollars more money in their battery operations. So if anything, I expect more cells. That doesn't mean the VTCs are going to still be available, but other ones will be if they phase those out. But I tested the Murata VTC4 and VTC5. Both were identical to the Sony namesakes. Same factory, same people, same quality control standards. I don't expect any differences, and I'm hoping maybe by next year or something, we'll see new Murata cells available. And who knows, maybe they'll even be friendly to vapors, but I doubt it because there's such a liability risk to them, and we have such a bad rep with the battery companies. But you never know. You never know when a company is going, we want to work with you. What can we do? We want to, sell to you. Hopefully, there are more companies like that.
Yep. All right. L&M Vapes asks, what is the best 18650 right now? That is for mech use. That is a matter of opinion, but that, 20S,
for me,
VTC5A.
Yeah, 20S for hardest hitter, VTC5A best all around for a mech, a VTC5A best all around period. For regulated use under 45 to 60 watts per battery, so you double that in a 2-battery mod, triple it in a 3-battery mod, Sony VTC6 or the Samsung 30Q. The VTC6A is even better. You can even use that in a mech, but it's really hard to find, so I just don't recommend it because then they just keep coming back to me trying to find it. So I just say, get the 6.
I stick with the VTC5A and the 20S. I think those are the best for mech use if you're looking for 18650. So, all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up and finish up here. Mooch, thank you so much for joining us.
Debo, dude, thanks for the invite and for a chance to vent. And I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
And it was awesome being here. Some good questions. And audience, thank you for the questions and your interest. And I'm really glad you took the time to watch us tonight.
Absolutely. Same here. Thank you so much to the moderators for keeping an eye and throwing all of Mooch links up in chat. Definitely appreciated. So yeah, that's about it, guys. I'm Demo with Demo Vapes. If you haven't already, make sure to check out Demo's Vape Lounge over on Facebook. And we've got a little community over there. Also join, the Vape Stew crew. If you're a viewer of Vape Stew and you haven't joined that group, join Vape Stew crew on Facebook. And if you're not familiar with Vape Stew, we have a live show every Friday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, and it's over on Tenacious TX Vapes channel. So go check that out every Friday at 9. And yeah, that's really about it, guys. So let me just pull up this thing here. So anyway. You guys all have a great night. Vape safe and have fun.
Better all. I take a last vape, but I actually pulled the battery out. Sorry.
All good.